Hello everybody, it is Tuesday the 1st of April and yes, I'm still here, I'm still trying. I really wish I could become a part of this conversation that is going on amongst the religious, amongst the spiritual. I know that if I were to become a part of this conversation, I would create a storm. But to be quite honest, I am beyond caring. This storm has to break, absolutely has to break, because we are going toward destruction. And we're going toward destruction not knowing what it is we're doing. Having a completely distorted interpretation of what is going on here. Right, so I was just listening to this guy now. His name is actually Aaron Apke, I think. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But he's another one of those spaced out idiots. I'm sorry. You know, talking about the united field of consciousness and the law of one. Yeah, and quoting the Bible and Jesus, and we must all be in service to others, that sort of thing. And we mustn't judge. Don't judge, whatever you do. First of all, this book, the Bible. Let me say that again. Know your God from your Creator. Please. This book is not talking about the Creator. It's not talking about the field of united consciousness of all. God in the Bible is not all. It is one being or beings. Yeah? This is playing on the level of the created. Absolutely. In the created. So God is a being. The God of the Bible is a being, and not a very nice being at that. They're predators. The God of the Bible is a predator. Come to that in a minute. So the first distortion that happened probably around, from what I've heard, somewhere around in the 6th century, when a Jewish king got the scribes to rewrite the Torah, where it was a story of many beings, of many gods, and that king created monotheism, rewriting the story so that it would appear that there is only one. That was never the original story. There are still others, like Asherah and others, still in that story. I don't know why they couldn't wipe them out completely, but they surely attempted to. So it would create the appearance that all of the story is about one God, and it never was that. Now the reason why that was done, the creation of monotheism, is because of the temple in Jerusalem. Yeah? And the one God would be worshipped in Jerusalem. That was centralization of power. That's all that was. All the other temples were done away with, and everything would flow to Jerusalem. So that was done for very earthly reasons. Now, let's put the other dimension, the other aspect to that. Was that king in contact with an otherworldly being? Again, was he influenced? Was he in service to something outside of this world? I mean, we must consider the possibility that we are not alone in this mess. Yeah? And that the mighty are in cahoots with otherworldly being, and they're being influenced. So, possible. But as far as the outcome is concerned, it doesn't actually make much difference. It still created what it created, whatever the original source was. So here we are. That is the first distortion of the truth that was there in the beginning. That was the story about many gods. until the scribes changed it. So now we are monotheists. There is only one God. And now they're mixing it up with Eastern traditions or with the traditions of the old mystery schools, which were talking about the field of consciousness, the creator. No longer about the being, but going beyond the being. And so now, all of a sudden, the God of the Bible, not only is there only one, it is the creator himself. That's another distortion. That is not what we're talking about. Never was what we were talking about. We're talking about beings. And they are not omnipresent and omnipotent. Look at the story. Look at what they're doing. They're not omnipresent and omnipotent. They're not infallible. They're not unchanging. God changes his mind, whenever it serves him. So really see what it is we're talking about. This book is not talking about the creator. It's talking about gods, which are beings, not of this world. And they are predators. Look at the book of the Revelation. Look at what happens. Folks, it's not good. See that it's not good. Hold on to your old knowing. That is not good. Now, God so loved the world that he first of all would slaughter his own son. You should have a problem with that as a human being. But this love of God, again, we're talking about a being. In this world, there are different loves, the way we use the word. There is this love where you are connected to something. You care about it. You enjoy the connection with it. And that could be on any level of the consciousness in this world. Another human being on the level of something on the level of the animal, something on the level of the vegetative. You could love plants. You could love being with plants, being surrounded by plants. Really receiving of the energy of the plants. When we say we feel good in nature, it's because we are receiving of their energy. They give out energy, spirit. We're in the spirit of nature. So you can love being connected to that. Even to the level of the inanimate. You can have a connection to that. So, but then really it is a case of you care, because you're enjoying the connection to something else, you care about that, you want for it. You want it to thrive, you want it to be there. It's not completely selfish, obviously, because you are enjoying it yourself. And you should. The self needs to receive. But that is that kind of love that comes out of a connection that is giving and receiving. And then there's another love in this world that we talk about, and that is your love for a cheesecake. I love cheesecake. I love it, I want to have it, I want to eat it. And that is the love that the God of the Bible has for this world. It's a love for a cheesecake. I love it, I want it, I want to have it, I even slaughter my own son in order to get it. I don't care. As long as I get what I want. That is the God of the Bible. That is his love. And it's very, very low level. Extremely low, if it's even love at all. So, I was thinking this morning, things come back to me, puzzle pieces. There are hard ones, and then they go away, and then they come back. And something I'd been looking at was this parasite that is in cats, the Tigondii parasite that has been transferred to the mouse, and whatever it does to the mouse chemically, the mouse loses the knowledge of self, pretty much. Because the truth of a mouse should be that when the cat comes, it runs away. Yeah, self-preservation. That should be the truth of the mouse in relation to the cat. But whatever that parasite does, the mouse is suddenly drawn to the cat. And it feels elation at being eaten. And that is pretty much what that teaching in the New Testament does. It's a mind virus. And it creates exactly that. A willing sacrifice. Doing away with self. Doing away with self-preservation. Doing away with the negative emotions that would warn you of danger or of injustice. You know, you have a right to be. Anything that says you have to be a sacrifice, that is not justice. It's not just. Anger. You should be angry at that. That should be your truth. But it does just that. It creates willing sacrifices. You know, do away with your lower nature and become a willing sacrifice. There's no more voice speaking against it. And I was thinking, if this thing actually plays itself out to its conclusion, that those teachings will create what they create. Yeah, you could be in a situation, conceivably, where you speak to, let's say, parents and say, you know, there's a predator there preying on your child, maybe even eating your child, I don't know what they do. Sexually preying on your child, eating your child, whatever stuff they want to do. And the parents are sitting there spaced out, saying, well, I know this is an illusion. You know, it's not real. It doesn't matter. Don't come to me with your low-level energy. Yeah? I have risen above that. I have detached from fear and anger and, you know, I no longer feel it. I am in a different reality, in a greater reality, in a state of enlightenment. And then again, ask who benefits. Who does that serve? Serves God. Serves the predator. Yeah? Doesn't serve the children that would rely on you to protect them. Only you're sitting somewhere spaced out saying it doesn't matter. So it doesn't serve your children, doesn't serve you. If God forbid you would ever come back to earth and realize what you've done, I think it would be extremely painful. But then maybe, you know, once the children are eaten, you're next. So you maybe never know. The only thing that serves is the predator that has now got a prey that is putting up no resistance. That is what this teaching should create. A prey that will put up no resistance. And that might even feel elated while it's being eaten. Now, I said before, we are on a narrow band of consciousness. We are on a narrow band, a Goldilocks zone of consciousness where life can exist, where it's sustained, where it can thrive. That is the band of light, the band of life. In the physical, you see our planet at a certain distance from the sun, in that Goldilocks zone where you can have life. but everything is consciousness, so we're on a narrow band of consciousness where life can exist. Now the God of the Bible is outside of this world, not of this world, outside of that band of consciousness, and he's below, definitely below. There's no empathy, there is no conscience, there's no knowledge of good and bad other than I want. And good and bad becomes according to that. If I don't have it, it's bad. If I have it, it's good. Simple as that, black and white. That is below this band of consciousness. But then you have the other now, saying do away with all negative and go into enlightenment. You are also outside of that band of consciousness in the other direction. And that is a false light. That is absolutely a false light that will take you out of this band. And you have missed the mark. You are in sin. You have missed the mark, and it doesn't actually matter in what direction you're missing the mark. One direction is not better than the other. You've missed the mark. And if you go out of this band of consciousness, believing yourself to going into that false light, you're outside of the band. Are you then in the same realm as the predators? Yeah, you're believing it to be light. As I said, you have missed the mark. You're as wrong as they are. And one way of being wrong is not better than another. So, and I said the last thing that Aaron guy said, he was talking about the birds and the bees, birds in the sky and the lilies in the field, as I often do. And I said, they don't worry, you should not worry. Well, they do not worry. I think they know they will receive. They know the Creator will give to them. They receive for themselves. Every part receives for itself. Yeah? And it is in its being and what it does that then becomes a part of everything else and sustains the whole. Every individual part gives to the whole. Diversity. Yeah? But in order to give to the whole, the individual part needs to be sustained. It needs to receive for itself. The lily is not sitting in the field saying, oh, I don't want anything for myself, give everything to everybody else. No part of nature does that. No part of life, no part that is on this band of consciousness says, for myself I will receive nothing. Everything will receive for itself, and everything gives according to what it is. Both giving and receiving. Again, it's a false teaching to say, you should just give to others. This way, the way of, again, being in service to others and not receiving for yourself is the way of destroying the self. And that is the idea, that the self needs to be destroyed. So it will put up no more resistance to the predator. People are in a trance. People are, honest to God, in a trance, not seeing the truth anymore, believing themselves to be in the light, and they're not. They're outside of the consciousness band that produces life. They're outside of it. They're outside of life. Every bit as much as the predator itself. And people need to see that. They need to see what the outcome is. The outcome is the book of the relation. It is our destruction. And it is the denial of self is the way to that outcome. So know your God from your Creator. The only time, I would say in that book, maybe the only time, there was a genuine knowledge of the united field of consciousness and that we receive of it, was that teaching in Mark 11 verse 24. And here I go again. Whatsoever you ask for in prayer, know that you have received it and it will be yours. That is receiving of the highest field of consciousness itself. It is again the self, the individual being that is asking and that is receiving. And it will manifest. Power of prayer. And if you believe that is truth, if you believe that is how reality in a wider field does actually work, then please become conscious of what it is you're asking for. If you are a Christian, if you are following the way of Jesus, you're asking, Creator, let me do away with myself. Let me destroy myself so I can be in the service to the will of another being. That is what you're asking for, to manifest within yourself. To destroy yourself, to sacrifice yourself to the glorious God of the Bible, which is another being, which is, again, they're coming to slaughter. They love you the way you love a cheesecake. Yeah? Let his kingdom come to earth. Let them break through into this band of consciousness. And let their will be done. And let me, myself, not stand against it. That's what you're praying for. We are going into destruction. We are completely deluded. We do not understand what this book is saying, what level it is talking about. And as I said, it was created in two steps. One is that we were taught there's only one in there, and then we come to the law of one, only one God. That was never what that story said. That was deliberately rewritten to create that illusion that there was only one in that book. Then add the next dimension. It's talking about the Creator himself, and it's not. It's only talking about a being in creation, same as yourself. And you're making yourself a sacrifice to that other being. People are in this world in a trance, waiting for the predator to come. And they're calling it light. They're calling it enlightenment. You're outside of the band of consciousness that is life. You have missed the mark. You've shot straight past it and out the other side. And you missing the mark toward the light is no better than the predator have missed the mark being in the darkness. They're both darkness. The light is a false light. Okay, folks, here I leave it at that for today. Please like and share. Let's see if we can create that storm that has to come. It absolutely has to come. People need to be woken up out of this idiotic trance, out of this spaced out trance, and face reality again. come back to earth. Here, I leave it at that for today, and I talk to you again soon. Bye.